We've even had to do suicide prevention for several years. And a couple of years ago, we were approached from Baton Rouge in regards to reducing the underage drinking in Avoyelles Parish. And that was due to the fact that Avoyelles Parish ranks in the top 10 in the state of Louisiana for underage drinking beginning at the age of 9.
Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. Our guest this morning is Donna DeSoto. She's the coordinator for the Avoyelles Community and Youth Coalition, and she is an agent of change, talking about how we can all work together to help the youth. Donna, good morning and welcome.
Well, good morning, and thank you again so much for allowing me the opportunity to be a guest with you today.
Absolutely. This is such an important mission. Talk about how you came into this work.
Well, as far as myself, very passionate about working with youth. I am a retired juvenile probation and parole officer for the state of Louisiana. I handled Avoyelles Parish, Catahoula, Concordia, LaSalle, so I worked with a lot of youth. And I realized very early on in my career that you have an opportunity to change lives and redirect lives with our youth and help them to be able to become productive adults in our society. And I knew some days it might have only been one person, one youth that I changed and redirected their life, but it was worth getting out of bed that morning to be able to accomplish that. And so with that experience over the years, when you retire and you're passionate about something, it's something that's you can't just easily do. You want to still be involved and be able to help our community. And so the opportunity did come for the Avoyelles Community and Youth Coalition. And Carlette, there's a little bit of history there because back in 2003, the Louisiana legislature passed a law that each parish in the state of Louisiana form a youth planning board. Mm-hmm. And the purpose of that youth planning board would be to provide services and help identify some of the needs for youth and try to get some services and make connections for them. And we have a diverse group of individuals that are volunteers for this coalition, and we're truly, truly blessed. We have teachers, we have principals, we have nurses, we have doctors, we have lawyers, we have clergy, we have social workers, law enforcement, but above all, we have our youth. If you do not have your youth on board and involved, then you're not going to be able to get that message out. And so I had the opportunity, to become the coordinator for the coalition. And so this was a couple of years ago, and the Youth Planning Board actually had several platforms over the past years. We've dealt with truancy. We've even had to do suicide prevention for several years. And a couple of years ago, we were approached from Baton Rouge in regards to reducing the underage drinking in Avoyelles Parish. And that was due to the fact that Avoyelles Parish ranks in the top 10 in the state of Louisiana for underage drinking beginning at the age of 9. 9 years old.
Wow, 9 years old?
Yes, ma'am. 9 years old, they are starting to drink here in Avoyelles Parish. And so, when I first considered this platform for the coalition, I realized, this was going to be a challenge. Mm-hmm. We have a very strong culture here in Avoyelles Parish. And the thing that I always try to make the community understand when we are doing things and projects for the coalition is that we're wanting youth to make healthy choices. We're wanting them to be able to allow their minds and their body to grow appropriately and develop accordingly so that they can become productive citizens. And, most folks don't really understand that the part of the brain that gives you the opportunity to comprehend and understand and and such is not fully developed until you're 24 years of age. So if you're utilizing substances such as alcohol, drugs, vaping, whatever, at an early age, you're going to delay that development.
Wow. So when we talk about the age in Avoyelles Parish of underage drinking starting at 9, and we talk about the culture, how do we begin to talk about changing the culture? And what is the culture that says it's okay to start drinking so early?
One of the things that you can see that's a common and very prevalent is the fact that we have festivals and fairs, and then there's traditions that family members have. And like, to give you an example, like for hunting in Avoyelles Parish is a very, very popular thing to do. And so many years ago, believe it or not, they would close school on the Friday before opening day of squirrel season.
Absolutely.
So it was no use having school that day because most of the population wasn't going to be at school. So they just do report cards on Thursday and you have no school on the Friday. And so anyway, they go into the woods and, grandpa's with them and they got brothers and uncles and such, and they have a strong camaraderie and they've been looking forward to this for a good while and it's finally here. And most times that's when that first opportunity takes place. That first, opportunity to have access to the alcohol, to have a sip of beer. And why? Because when Daddy was a young boy, his daddy allowed him to do so. And when his daddy's daddy was a young boy, so it's a culture. And so that's one of the strong points, that the fact that, I first thought that, this is going to be tough. Maybe we can't do this. But then I also realized that culture is like change. It's like seasons. Seasons change, and so can attitudes and thought processes when it comes to this. And it's not, we're not wanting people to feel that, that we're pointing fingers and that we're saying that, you're bad if you consume alcohol. All we're asking is youth make healthy choices and wait until it's of legal age, which is 21 in the state of Louisiana, but to ensure that, they're responsible with it and to make those healthy choices. Culture is a tough one when you have to try to sit down and identify how did it start and at which point do we try to impose some changes with that.
As we learn more, Donna, and as we get better and better information, we've got to do better. And that's exactly what you're talking about, how we can do better. Now we have such an increased rate of addiction, whether it's drug addiction or alcohol addiction, and all of those things sort of run together in packs. And if we don't find some solutions, this generation is going to continue to have challenges. And so you say, what about that?
Well, it's an old adage, but it's so very true, Carlette. And the fact of the matter is it starts at home. Those patterns and the ideas that formulate, and for our youth today, they emulate what they see and what is acceptable, in their home. And, there were 5 areas that Avoyelles Parish even outranked the entire state of Louisiana on. And one of them was 30-day use. And what that meant was within 30 days, youth consumed 5 or more alcoholic beverages. The second one, which is very, very concerning to me, is binge drinking. Third was with permission from relatives or from parents. Fourth was relatives. And fifth, someone over 21 purchasing the alcohol for them. So in those 5 categories, we outrank the entire state of Louisiana on. And so how do you affect change? First of all, you have to educate. You have to educate your community and to make them aware of the process as far as brain development, the changes of the attitudes with our youth, providing positive things in your community for your youth to be a part of. And, with having youth involved on our youth coalition, we have numerous public service announcements that we have been able to produce, and they are a did you know campaign. Mm-hmm. We put out the facts, the did you know on like social hosting, because there again in Avoyelles Parish, because of rite of passage, a lot of times we are confronted with that issue where parents are, their mindset is, okay, well, they're not driving.
Right.
Taking their keys from them. So we're just going to go ahead and they can all come over here. And yes, you can have your alcohol, but I feel better about it because you're not driving. But my question to individuals when we talk about that is, how much alcohol is that youth consuming? Because they know, hey, we don't have anything to worry about. We're not going to get behind the wheel. We don't have our key.
And then when do we stop them in that? When do we say, okay, you've had enough. You're not drinking and you're not driving. And I'm glad you mentioned that point, because I've spoken to parents as a parent that said they're all going to be here. They're going to drink anyway, but they're going to be here and they're going to stay here, which brings in itself a liability on those parents should
Absolutely.
alcohol poisoning occur. So how do we change this ideology? They're going to drink anyway, and I feel better if they drink here at my house.
Well, and see, and that's where, Carlette, you have the moral concerns, and then you have the legal concerns when it comes to that, because there are legal consequences for individuals, for adults that do provide alcohol and have social hosting, as it's defined here in Avoyelles Parish. It's up to $1,000 fine if they are caught doing social hosting. And like I said, in the mindset of the adults is that they're safe because they're not behind the wheel of a vehicle. But if the adults are not sitting there supervising and watching what they're consuming, that's when your alcohol poisoning, that's when your binge drinking can come into effect. And the next thing you know, you have a young person that passes out because of the alcohol consumption and sadly does not wake up.
So let me fast forward that even more. You push the button and you fast forward, because as a parent, I've spoken to many parents, as I'm sure you have on this journey, that feel like if my kids are going to drink, I want them to drink at home. I want to be the place where they have their first drink. I want them to understand drinking. I don't want them to hide from me. So then you have that piece. But now, when you fast forward, we have so many young people who are becoming addicts. And what we don't ever talk about is how addicting alcohol is and how hard it is to break that addiction. So what do we say to those parents as they're hosting and as they think that they're doing the absolute right thing about the long term?
Well, and see, when they start out, when they have that first opportunity to consume alcohol, they may not drink very much, but it does give them the high and the effect that makes them feel good. But over a period of time, then it requires more and more. And then that's when they may have to go to a harder liquor because beer will no longer give them that good feeling, that high that they strive for. And that's what parents and individuals, adults that are providing alcohol need to understand, that this could be the beginning of a very long journey for a young person. We just finished completing a public service announcement, and it's a young boy who's 9 years old, and he's in an AA meeting with adults. And he stands up, he introduces himself, and he tells the group that in 6 years, he is going to be an alcoholic. He says it's going to start by him going to parties when he's in junior high school, and his parents never discussed alcohol with him and the dangers. And by the time he gets into high school, he's already into some legal trouble with it. And the sad part is, at the end, he does say, my parents won't even see it coming. Parents and adults need to have conversation. Don't be afraid to have the conversation with your children, with other youth, that there is a time and a place for you to have this opportunity. When they're young and not able to handle the effects of which alcohol can have on a body, they need to wait until their body has matured and that they are able to appropriately consume alcohol and be responsible.
And when you think about that, it really boggles the mind, because you know we have people that are listening and watching and saying that's impossible, but it's very real and it's happening every day, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I would like for the folks listening to know that every 2 years, they conduct a community caring youth survey. This is conducted in the school systems throughout the entire state of Louisiana. That's how we were able to obtain the data and the statistics to support the underage drinking, reducing the underage drinking. And it's done in the 6th grade, 8th grade, 10th, and 12th. And so when you start talking about a 6th grader, that means you're having to go over to the elementary school and you're visiting with youth that are in elementary school in regards to them drinking alcohol. It's mind-boggling. And so this is how the coalition is able to gather our data in order to support what we're trying to do and to help reduce the underage drinking. And again, if we do not have our youth involved and have them on board, then we're not going to have that progress. And, our own youth can change the ideas and thought processes even of their parents when they see them doing some different and positive things. It makes them want to join in and do the same thing and to be able to have a good result at the end, because it's a bleak result if you utilize alcohol and at some point alcohol is not going to give you what you desire, and then you move on to other and bigger things such as drugs, and then your luck is going to run out eventually. Something is going to happen. And then that's when you become involved with law enforcement. And then your whole life can change if you end up being arrested and you're looking at all the enormous fees and fines. And then above all, having a criminal record that's going to basically follow you around and hamper your ability to be able to have employment.
And not to mention, in most drunk driving cases, the drunk driver walks away without a scratch and takes the life of someone who is innocent. Talk about that journey through the legal system and what you have seen in your career, having to deal with people who are either incarcerated for many, many years or who are on probation and parole.
Well, and Carlette, the thing is that it is true what you said as far as, usually the one who is consuming the alcohol, who's intoxicated and there's an accident, I guess it's because maybe their body is so limber. They're the ones that do not have any issues, but it's the innocent person that was doing the right thing and they've been confronted. We even have a member in our coalition in 2005. She lost her daughter to a drunk driver. She worked at the casino, and it was Christmas Eve. And a lot of folks were calling in sick and not wanting to come into work. And they called her and they asked her if she would come in and work for them. And she did. And while she was on her way to work, totally innocent, young, vibrant young lady on her way in, and a drunk driver crossed over the line and she was killed. And that's the point that people do not realize, is that, that begins the journey for everybody. That's the journey for the person who was driving intoxicated. His immediate family now has to deal with the fact that he was responsible for taking someone's life in such a manner. You had the family who's been affected by the death of a loved one. And then you have your court system. And then lo and behold, then you get into your legal system as far as whether they're going to be incarcerated, if they're going to be on probation. There's so much that's involved when it gets to that point. And, we have to start early. Mm-hmm. If we can start early, and it's not just on the underage drinking, that's with a lot of things, Carlette. If we start early in our lives and start early with our families and, getting the positive messages out with our children, and we set examples to that, our futures would be so much brighter, and we wouldn't be facing some of the epidemics that we have, and certainly, all of the individuals that are faced with addiction that we have today.
Sure. So tell people how they can connect with the coalition and become a part.
Oh, please do. We are asking everyone who's listening today, we would like for you to visit our website, and it's www.avoilscyc.org. Please take a look at some of the wonderful things that our youth in our community are doing to try to get that message out of change, of reducing underage drinking. And it is ages from 9 to 20 here in Avoyles Parish. And reach out to us. We would love for you to volunteer. Right now, because of COVID, we are still meeting. We do things by Zoom. We're very positive. Hopefully, things will look like they might start to open back up again because, we're all close people. We like to hug and we like to visit and be around folks. And so we're hoping that will happen soon. But we welcome anyone who has a passion about helping our youth, so that's our future. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our future, and we have to start with them. So if you're interested, please feel free to contact us. I can also give my cell phone number, 318-729-0789, and I welcome you to call me. I will do a presentation. Our coalition will do whatever we have to do to be able to get folks involved.
And I love the idea of student ambassadors, and that's one thing that you are really promoting. Talk to our students really quickly and talk about how they can become ambassadors.
Well, what we had accomplished prior to COVID was meeting with each one of the high school principals, and it was going to be an organization just like Beta, just like the regular organizations. It was going to be a Avoyles Community and Youth Coalition in each one of our schools. And of course, COVID put a change to that. We were, especially when everything was virtual in the very beginning, but it is something that we are still working on. In fact, I just received a nice little list of names from Avoyles High School just this week. So that does my heart good. We're reaching out to each of our high schools. You have to have your students involved, and they can send that positive message on to others at school. And I think the thing that makes me the proudest, Carlette, is that when you have, everybody wants to be on TV, everybody wants to be on the radio. That's a fun thing. But when you're promoting a message, not everyone is going to agree with.
Right.
I admire you to stand there and do a public service announcement telling folks information that's hard for them to absorb and to believe in your message. And that's our youth. Our kids are doing that. So that's what gives me the fire behind me to know that we're moving in the right direction.
Well, Donna, we are going to stay connected. We are going to do all that we can here at the OPT Network to help you to spread this message because it's so critically important to our youth. And we want to do even more than that. We want to dispel the shame that families may be having about where they are on this journey and say, you know what? It's never too late. We can start right now. We want to thank you so much for your message, your ministry, your mission, and the work that you are doing to be an agent of change. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor, and I appreciate it.
Indeed. Right back at you.